to your screen, Kate. There we go.
Got it. All right. So many changes on Zoom over the summer. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Coffee with Doc. We are excited to kick off the new year with one of my great friends and good friend to the museum, Kate Bergen, and I am just going to turn it over. We've been having a great conversation warming up, and yeah, it's going to be a good one tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Great to be with you again. Kate, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm glad we had a chat before we got started so we could get all the bad stuff out of the way. Anyway, for those of you that don't know Kate, she's got 16-year background in EMS, and we'll touch on some of that. And she is an extremely accomplished artist. And that's really what we may be focusing more on tonight than the EMS career. So let me go back to the beginning, Kate. You were in college and you were going to be a doctor. Is that correct?
Correct.
That was the game plan. And then what happened?
I went through EMT school my senior year, and I graduated the EMT program right before I got my degree. And I started working in Atlantic City, and I turned around one day and I went, this is where I belong. And I was not expecting that. I thought it'd be something to be nice to, buff my resume, get some patient contact, get some, good experience. And I was like, no, I like this. And it was the first time in my life I ever felt that way.
Very cool. So you started out in Atlantic City. How long were you down there?
About 6 years total,
Uh-huh.
at least in the area of.
And where did you go through your paramedic education?
Jefferson, the Jeff Stat program. So Philadelphia. And I worked in Trenton at the time as an EMT, putting myself through the program. And I saw a lot. It was like when I was studying a particular subject, I saw it in Trenton. So it was a neat correlation, I guess.
Very cool.
Yeah.
When you were going through the program at Jeff, did you get a chance to spend any time at CHOP, the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia?
I did a little bit there, a little bit at Temple, and then I did a lot of time in South Jersey, where I'm from, because there was an agreement at the time.
Cool. Excellent. Okay, so 6 years as an EMT, became a paramedic. You've been a paramedic for 10 years. And when did the painting start? That's where I'm curious.
So I originally taught myself how to paint by picking up a book when I was 18.
Okay.
And I had been steadily using it over the years, a little bit here or there.
Yep.
And one day my husband and I decided to start a business about 6 years ago. And he's an ICU nurse and a paramedic, but he was a carpenter before that. So he has a lot of woodworking skills. So he would do the woodworking, I would do the painting. And through the business, I started painting more and more. And right before COVID started, someone asked me to paint the picture of his girlfriend at the time, her back, and the horse she was walking with. So the back of the both of them. And the only reason I agreed, because people are hard, is because it was her back, and how hard could that be? And I was very wrong. But it gave me the confidence when I decided to go into my Rosies that, I've done it once, I could kind of do it again. So that's how they started.
So tell me about Rosie and how that all started.
So I was, like you said, I'm a paramedic. I've been on the front lines of COVID. I was having a hard time dealing with it. I really was getting frustrated at the public saying things like it was fake, like, this isn't real. Nobody sees this. And I'm seeing it. My colleagues are seeing it. My husband is seeing it. And it just felt like no one saw the inside. So, Rosie the Riveter has always been like a call to action and things like that. And I've always admired her. I've always had a connection with World War II. My grandfather was in the Navy in World War II. And I also really love Norman Rockwell. And his art has always just been something I've been drawn to. And I didn't do this purposely, but as I was painting, it came out to be this vintage vibe. And I just kind of went with it. So my first Rosie was a way to show the public kind of an inside view of what we deal with. So I took a picture of myself with my P100 on, and I had my goggles at the time and, you know, my uniform, what have you. And I pointed at the camera because I decided that I was going to do Rosie the Riveter meets Uncle Sam. And I wanted to create a public service announcement saying, we can do our job if you stay home and do yours. Because this was at the time when we wanted to flatten the curve. So I really kind of combined the two, and Modern Day Rosie's was born.
Okay. And where did you transition over into some of what we were talking about earlier, which is some of the people in the hospitals that are really on the front line of this stuff?
So that started with a good friend of mine who is an ER nurse, and she's also Asian. She was approached by people she didn't really know, asking if she or her family were sick or if anyone in her family brought it over. And I just thought, you know, the audacity of that statement, you know, like here she is on the front line with everybody else working to save your butt, and you're going to say things like that. And I was angry. And she was hurt, and I could see that. And I approached her and I said, do you mind if I paint you? And she was like, okay, I'm like, sure. And it turned into this really beautiful painting. And it ignited a light in her that I could not have fabricated, you know, by sharing her story, lifting her up. It was just, it really turned into a beautiful thing. And then I realized that there were so many other women out there that often get overlooked, or roles that get overlooked. And from there, I painted respiratory therapist. I painted a long distance truck driver, because, you know, we take them for granted as well. Radiologist techs, nurses, nurse anesthetists, nurse practitioners, some doctors. Like I really, before I knew it, I had people suggesting, try this profession. Here's this person, try this profession. And I've done 35 of those paintings so far, and I have another 25 at least to go before that particular collection is complete. So, and that's really special to me. You know, I
get it.
I don't ask anything from anybody, just pictures, and you know, they're happy to oblige.
Okay, now we have exhibited some of your work in some of our displays for the museum, art and EMS, and I forget what other one we've got some of your stuff in, but I think it's in Texas. But suppose somebody would want some of your artwork. Can they purchase prints of any of your stuff, or are you selling just originals at this point?
No, I'm selling the prints as well. I have an Etsy page that you can purchase best on, called Kate the Riveter.
Kate, say again, Kate the Riveter?
Yes.
Is that on Facebook?
It's on Etsy. I haven't linked it
Okay.
to Facebook
Okay.
yet.
Etsy, all right.
Good idea.
And you've also got a Facebook page for Bergen Studios, which
Correct.
is where a lot of your stuff is on display.
Yes, yes. And it's also the work my husband and I do together. So that's more of our joint business, and the Etsy page is just kind of an offshoot.
Okay, so he's a carpenter, among other things.
Yes.
And in what respect is he involved in your artwork business? Does he do frames or whatever, or what?
He builds anything I ask him to build me. I mean, one time he built me a window, including the glass, and I painted on the window. So
Okay.
I think of an idea and he does it for me. I had him just recently build a frame to then stretch black velvet on, and I painted that instead of canvas. And that turned out really neat. So he and I collaborate and do a lot of cool stuff together.
Sounds like a pretty solid partnership to me.
Yeah, we enjoy it.
Yeah, very cool. And how many kids do you have, Kate?
I have two. I have a 3-year-old son and a 4.5-year-old son.
Very cool. And a big cat.
Yes.
Very big cat behind you. Yeah. Because of what I've been doing lately that we chatted about, what do you see the therapeutic value might be of some of the art that you are doing? other than for yourself? I know that for yourself, it is very valuable. But how about for those?
So I've really seen people kind of light up when I talk about it. When I ask anyone to be a part of the series, their response is always, well, thank you so much for choosing me.
Yeah.
And my thought has always been, well, thank you for agreeing to do it. You know, like I'm in my mind, I'm asking a favor of them, and in their mind, I'm making them feel special, which is what I wanted to do to begin with. And then on top of it, you know, their family, their friends, you know, lift them up and go, I'm so proud of, you know, this person because of what they're doing, as well they should be. And anyone in that profession also seems to feel that same pride. And that, like I said earlier, that's not something money can buy. You cannot fabricate that. And I think that's really special.
So you are, in a sense, memorializing them because they are the frontline heroes of healthcare at this point.
Yes.
Fair
And
statement?
yeah, I hope one day they find a home in a museum and live there, you know, for all time, eternity. That's fine.
Very cool. Very cool. So you started out with Rosie the Riveter and then moved over into the healthcare. What other aspects of art that are connected to our world, which is EMS, do you try to capture?
Well, there's the stress that we had talked about that I felt. One of the things at the time we had a handler that would come in with his dogs, and that was really special because it would give us kind of like a light, you know, on a gloomy day. And I was asked to paint them as a gift to their handler, who also happened to be our security director at the same time. So, you know, I knew him pretty well. He's a real good guy, and I was happy to do it, of course, but it was really something special as well to really share the emotional aspect, you know, like, and to bond with the fact that it wasn't just me feeling as stressed as I was, that people from healthcare inside and outside were feeling this way, you know. And I really want to extend that. I actually have plans for the Rosies to move them into not necessarily COVID related, but still women of substance, women that, you know, I think should have that spotlight. And it doesn't have to be somebody famous, but, you know, it could be someone that has done something for their community, or one person, but that has, you know, changed that person's world. I want to know about it. You know, I want to be compelled to paint them and, you know, hopefully make a book of it at some point is my ultimate goal.
I'm curious as to what is the spark when you see somebody or meet somebody. What is the spark that draws you to wanting to capture them in a painting?
A lot of it has to do with their story. I either hear about somebody or read about them, or someone introduces me if I don't know them directly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something in them that I go, oh, that's really special. You know, I would love to paint that. And I've done that a few times where it's just, I have to answer the call as it comes. You know, like I've really let this project lead me, and it wasn't even purposeful. It just sort of happened, and it seems to be the best way to go about it. So I continue to just follow that lead. And if I feel that need, I go for it.
And what does that do for you, out of curiosity?
It's really very fulfilling. You know, that I can lift myself through lifting them. You know, an example would be last year, our local Santa Claus lost his father, who was also a Santa Claus before him, to COVID. And I reached out to him because I was touched by his story. And he actually answered me back. And he and I are going to collaborate on a project sometime this fall. That's going to be, pretty special. And it's because of the fact that I'm a paramedic and that I'm doing the work that I'm doing. And then also COVID, that obviously brought us together. And, I'm doing something for someone that does so much for other people. And that feels amazing. That's the reason I bring it up.
Very cool. So is that going to be a Santa Claus project?
It might be, yeah.
Very cool. I noticed one of your posters that I looked at earlier today probably hit me personally because I have been very frustrated with people who do not get inoculated. And it drives me nuts because what's happening is that in large part, if people are hospitalized with COVID, but they have been inoculated, they go home.
Right.
If they get hospitalized with COVID and they have not been inoculated, they get the COVID pneumonia, get intubated, get placed on a ventilator, and eventually leave the hospital in a body bag.
Yeah.
And that absolutely infuriates me because I've lost friends. And I'm sure that you've had some situations that you've been touched by
Yes.
similarly.
Mhm.
And it just seems such a waste to be that stupid or that obstinate or whatever it is. I'm not sure what the answer is or the right term is. But if you are, one of the things I saw, which I guess is part of your rosy theme, which is what I saw in that was be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Yes.
And is that any part of what you're trying to communicate?
Yes. I have to be careful in how I go about things sometimes, in that what surprised me when I put these rosies out on a very public forum that reached the rest of the country, I would get back political slander. And I'm like, this is not about politics. It's not about whether or not you believe this or not. I'm showing you what these people are going through.
Yeah.
These are actual pictures,
Yeah.
of what they had to use. One woman wore a raincoat for PPE. Like, she said to me, I'm sorry, I can get a different, gown if you give me a couple of days. I said, no, that is perfect. I want to share that we don't have enough PPE. There's a reason. So when I made the painting and I put up there, one of them I used is "We need you to vaccinate," and I was hesitant about it just because of all the pushback. And I'm like, you know what? This is not politics. There's a reason that I'm behind this movement, and I've seen things. My coworkers have seen things. It's real, and if people choose not to believe it, that's on them. But in my conscience, I had to include that in my work.
That was a spark behind that one for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. Since we've touched on this COVID situation and what you are experiencing and what a lot of us are experiencing, what do you see the impact of this pandemic is going to have on our professions?
I would not be surprised if there would be a mass exodus. I know that if I can make this a lucrative business, I'm ready to leave. I mean, I love what I do, but I love my family more. I mean, with my husband also being in the hospital, we're exposed to COVID on both sides, and having 2 little kids, it's not worth the risk. And here I can be home with my children. I can create something that means something to other people. And I can live a life that I know we're at least a little bit safer in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Excellent.
I'm not opposed to leaving if the right opportunity presents itself.
And your husband is immersed in the ICU world.
Yes.
And what does he see in terms of the impact that this is going to have on the professions of the nurses, nurse pracs, RRTs, and so forth?
I think he sees more of the strain than I do, because I'm pretty much, I'll take a patient, from point A to point B, being the ER, and go, here you go,
Yeah.
And I don't have to have as much contact or even, follow-up for those people. I don't see how their clinical progression is within the hospital itself. I don't see them go from point A to point B within the hospital. Not that I don't want to know, it's just how our system is set up. Whereas, it's all embedded where he is, like you can't get away from that. And of course, nursing assignments, I mean, they could have them for weeks at a time, and they see them, some of them linger, and then eventually, like you said, leave in a body bag, and it's terrible. And they're young people, it's not always the older people. And it really brings about a sense of mortality, and a lot of unknown. And I think it's more stressful than a lot of people are letting on, to be honest.
Not even most of the people outside of our world don't have a clue.
I agree.
It is tearing up people within the hospital setting. Is your husband working 12 to 14 hours a day, like
Yes.
most of the folks over this way? Yeah.
5 days a week. And in the height of COVID last year, it was solely in the COVID ICU. Like I was not sure how I was going to fare at the end of that.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm glad to say that no one in this house has ever gotten it. So,
Good.
Yeah.
That's tough. And I agree with you. I think there is going to be a lot of help needed in healthcare before it's very long, because people are just going to vote with their feet.
But you know what? I also see a lot of people going, "Oh, I want to do that. I want to help people," and I'm like, "Okay, well, come on, we're gonna need you." Like, I almost feel bad because they don't really know what they're walking into, but at the same time, none of us did.
No, I don't think any of us realized at the beginning the magnitude of this problem and what it was going to develop into. But I'm watching, and as you know, as I told you earlier, I'm dealing with a lot of these young people in the hospital setting.
Right.
And I don't see them staying. I see them finding another way to manage their lives.
You can't blame them. Like what we're dealing with is what I said early on is I felt like I was getting up, getting dressed every day to go to a war I wasn't prepared or equipped to deal with. And I can't imagine that other people feel too differently, and that wears on you very quickly.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
It's not something that your PHTLS course is going to help you take care of.
No. If anything, we need more courses in mental health, for those types of, they should make it into regular CEUs, that you have to recertify every couple of years. It's important.
Oh, very.
I honestly didn't realize how important it was until I experienced it firsthand, and it is life-changing.
Yes, I agree with you. Okay, we're just about out of time, and I want to know if you've got any closing thoughts in terms of what you want to pass on to our colleagues from what you've learned both from EMS and what you've learned from the people you've encountered that you've done the paintings of.
I guess the only thing I can say is that I'm proud of everybody out there. I know how hard it is. Everyone matters. Everyone is a part of the team, and we're in it together. And I will do my best to use my voice. And please send me ideas. I want to keep lifting people up. So
Cool.
If anybody has any suggestions, please send me ideas.
Excellent. Wonderful. And they can find you on Kate Bergen on Facebook, and they can find you at Bergen Studios. That's spelled Bergen Studios, also on Facebook. And then on Etsy, it is where?
Kate the Riveter.
Kate the Riveter. Okay, we got it. All right. And now a word from my delightful director down at the bottom of my screen. Christy, what do you have you want to add?
Excellent. Well, thank you both. This is just delightful. You're both inspirations, and I can't imagine a better kickoff to our season. September is an important month for us, so I just want to reiterate how important it is to just say thank you to all of our first responders who are out there fighting the battle with COVID, with accidents, with traumatic events, to our soldiers, to the teachers that are trying to hold our kids together day in and day out. Everybody that's really putting their heart and souls into making communities work. Thank you so much for sticking with it. You are a valued member of our community, and if you get to a point where you're feeling bad, where you're really just not sure where to go, please reach out to somebody. If somebody in your family is starting to withdraw, please check in with them, make sure that they know that they're important. We want to keep as many people around as possible to see the end of this pandemic. We certainly don't want to lose anybody unnecessarily. So that's my big thing. Personal experiences for me as well, and it makes me very sad when I hear that we've lost another friend and colleague. So please stay safe out there. Be sure to check out Kate's work at Responding Heroes. It is on at the Atlanta History Center. So if you're headed down to EMS Worlds, what is it, 2 weeks away now? Be sure to head on up to the Atlanta History Center and check out the National EMS Museum exhibit, Responding Heroes. You'll see some of her work live and in person, which is super exciting. The Fire Museum of Texas and the Central Ohio Fire Museum have our Art of Emergency Care on display. And we also have some of her work in our virtual museum, emsmuseum.org/virtual museum. But check out all the exhibits. Remember, you're part of this great legacy that's been around for over 300 years, and you're just helping add to our story. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. It's great to be back. Kate, thank you for spending your Friday night with us. Hope you enjoyed it. All right. Excellent. Unless there's anything else, go out, enjoy your Fridays, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Good night, everybody.